I spent millions of dollars in paid media for my own e-com stores as well as for my clients in the past. However, a few years ago, I decided to completely switch and focus on only one area in the e-com space. And the reason was not because paid media did not work, because I personally managed to scale one of my e-com stores from 0 all the way to 7 figures using ads. I also scaled multiple of my client stores, including one which I was able to 5x in just a little over 6 months. The main reason was because I spotted a huge problem in the e-com space. A problem that was causing brands to be less profitable as they scale until they eventually plateau and die off. That problem is lack of efficiency. The main issue in e-com at the moment is that everything is getting more expensive. The cost of acquiring a customer has more than tripled in the last 8 years in e-com, and in 2025 alone, it has jumped by 24.7%. This is because brands have a lower barrier to entry now, so we have more brands competing for the same customers. And not only that, the squeeze is coming from every single direction. So you probably noticed that your CPMs have increased in the last few years. In 2025, they went up by 20% compared to 2024, and they averaged around $22 across the e-com space. Shipping costs have also increased by 40% in the last 5 years, and also the issue with the 2025-2026 tariffs, which are squeezing import margins across the board and causing a lot of chaos and uncertainty, plus raw materials like packaging, production, and materials all increasing. A lot of e-com founders feel like they are running on a treadmill that gets faster and faster while they are staying at the exact same place. So the number that completely changed my perspective is that only 10 to 15% of customers come back to buy a second time from you. This is an industry average, so some of our clients have a return rate of over 70% and some others have a lower number. However, on average, only 10 to 15% of customers buy twice, which means that 85% of the customers who land on your website never come back to buy again. Another staggering stat is that acquiring a new customer costs 5 to 7 times more than getting an existing customer to buy from you again. So if your brand has a low return rate, it means you are paying premium prices to fill a bucket that has a lot of holes at the bottom. And this is one of my favorite analogies in e-com. You have a bucket full of holes at the bottom and you have water coming at the top in the form of traffic, let's say from ads, for example. So if you have a lot of holes at the bottom, then a lot of the water is going to leak all over the place and you will not be able to retain a lot of it. And if you want to maintain a good level on your bucket, you need to continuously pour water at the top of the funnel. However, when you start plugging some of the holes at the bottom, your system becomes more efficient and you are able to retain more water. And granted, you will never be able to plug all the holes at the bottom because that would mean that you are converting 100% of your traffic into customers, which hasn't been done so far. Otherwise, the guy who discovers this will become the first trillionaire. So the fix is not necessarily to keep pouring more water at the top to maintain a good level. It's actually patching as many of those holes at the bottom as possible. So let's go through a couple of brands here. So basically the same audience, but completely different outcomes. Brand A, the customer buys once, they have an LTV of $60 and they can only spend so much before they start losing money. With brand B, the customer buys 3 times, which means that they tripled their LTV and it's now 180. Now you are able to pay 3 more times to acquire that customer. This will make you incredibly competitive in your space. So the next point is one I hear a lot in the e-com space, which is email and SMS is a retention tool. And this is very true. However, what a lot of people miss is that email is also a great tool for acquisition as well. Email and SMS will also help you capture more of your valuable traffic, that traffic that you spent money acquiring. It will help you capture it, nurture it, and convert it into first-time customers as well. So you're basically extracting more value from every single dollar you spend on paid media and also better monetizing your traffic. So check out these examples from a brand without email and SMS capture versus a brand with email and SMS. So the first brand, they send traffic, let's say 100 visitors. They have a standard e-commerce conversion rate, which is 3%, and the rest of people potentially leave forever. So you have 97% of every dollar you spend on paid media wasted. And let's say that your return on advertising spend is 2.5x. However, let's compare it with brand B. So you're sending the same amount of traffic, 100 visitors, but instead of only converting those high intent people, those 3%, you capture 10 to 15%, sometimes up to 20% of that traffic and turn them into email and SMS subscribers. The advantage here is that these people are going to go through your welcome flow and also your abandonment flows. So the high intent people, those 3%, are going to go ahead and buy anyway. But the advantage of having these nurturing automations is that you are going to be able to convince some of those people who are still a little bit on the fence and maybe doing competitive research. This coupled with the post-purchase flows, as soon as someone places their first order, they get the post-purchase flows. And then after they place their second and third order, they get the loyalty flows as well. Plus, across all of these stages, they will be receiving your weekly campaigns. Your CLTV will be significantly higher without you having to spend more on ads. This means that your margin expands, you become more profitable, and now you are able to spend even more at the top of the funnel to continue scaling faster. So you see here the same ad spend, but double the customers. So with the first example without email, you are only able to get 2 to 3 customers from 100 visitors. However, when you have a capture and retention system in place, you will be able to potentially convert 4 to 6 people from that same amount of traffic. And this is not even mentioning the post-purchase and loyalty automations, which are designed to significantly increase your customer lifetime value as well. So here's the simple math. Without retention, you spend 10K on ads per month. You get 500 customers. Let's say your average order value is $60. That means that you have generated $30,000 from a 10K ad spend. Now with retention, you spend the same $10,000, but instead you get 650 plus customers because you're capturing more of your visitors, nurturing them, and then turning them into first-time customers. If you have a solid email and SMS system in place that is generating 25 to 30% of your total store revenue, that means that you are now generating $50,000 to $55,000 from that same amount of ad spend. So the shift here is not to completely abandon paid media and only focus on email SMS, because that will not work for your brand. I've talked to a few e-commerce brands over the last few years that had massive email lists, but that had, for example, their Meta account shut down. And sure, they were be able to maintain a good amount of revenue for a few months, but the brand eventually died off. So the moral of this is to not only focus on acquisition or retention, but to combine both of them. There are only 2 ways to scale a business. The first one is to get more new customers, and the second way is to get those customers to spend more money with you. And when you combine those, that's when you're operating at peak efficiency. So if you are generating less than 30% of your total revenue from email and SMS at the moment, then it means that you have an efficiency problem. At our agency, Power My Marketing, we can help you plug those holes at the bottom so you are able to generate more revenue from the same amount of traffic. Over the past few years, we helped e-commerce brands just like yours generate tens of millions of dollars in extra revenue from email SMS. We helped Grant from Goodwood Audio 13x his email revenue in just 30 days. We helped Hosiery go from 12% of attributed email SMS revenue to 40%. We've been working with Ono for 1.5 years, and we took them from 20% to 35%. We helped Kingsman Premium consistently stay over 40% of attributed email SMS revenue, and we peaked at 53% during busy times, and much, much more. So if you're interested in watching these case studies, head over to powermymarketing.com. And if you'd like us to help you with email SMS, I'm happy to offer you a free in-depth audit of your entire program, where I show you exactly what's missing, what could be improved, and how much more revenue you'll be able to generate when all of the improvements are implemented. This is 8 to 10 pages of expert recommendations specifically tailored to your brand. So if you're interested, click on the link in the description to schedule a quick call with me. And if you found value in this video, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. See you in the next one.